Gaming. More than likely my personal favorite pastime. While I don't really play too many games anymore, not because I don't really want to, it's just because I'm easily distracted with YouTube. Where if you get me on YouTube for any period of time, I'm down a rabbit hole that you're not going to be getting me out of for a bit. But I still consider video games my favorite pastime and hobby. Although YouTube is up there, of course. But what makes it special? Why gaming out of all the hobbies I could pick up? Well, tonight I'm going to be going over why gaming is something special to me. So sit back, relax, and if you're a gamer too, perhaps you'll relate. Hey, what's going on, geeks? Maxusthebeast is here, and welcome to another just random My Thoughts video. Tonight we're talking about my thoughts on gaming itself, which is something I've never actually done before. Because given the history of the channel, I think that it's safe to say that gaming is my favorite pastime, and that sort of thing goes without a doubt or without question, where you don't need to ask if I'm a gamer, because just look at half the content on the channel. Even the stuff that isn't primarily talking about gaming itself has gameplay rolling in the background. I'm not like one of those other... I'm not like the other girls. I'm not like a lot of other like commentary style YouTubers who have like a personal avatar. Not bashing on it, but just saying I don't... That's not my style. So there's always some kind of gameplay going on in the background. So I think, again, it's safe to say that I'm a gamer. But what makes it special to me? I may have mentioned this slightly in in a story time I made last year, talking about some gaming experiences. Also in a video I made during Geekz Week during the first Geekz Week, I think it was the first Geekz Week at least, where I talked about some gaming memories while playing Call of Duty. Yeah, that was an interesting video. But with gaming, for me, more than likely the current thing that keeps me interested in it is the escapism aspect. Where I've recently gotten into games like No Man's Sky or Sea of Thieves, where they give you these big open worlds to explore, and give you a lot of interesting things to discover, see, and do, and it gets me out of just the wildfire that is the current world we live in. Because right now, in case you're living under a rock, 2020 has been rough. We've had pandemics, bushfires, almost World War III. A lot of people died. It's been a rough year. And I'm not one to take that lightly. However, just because to take things seriously doesn't mean that I'm constantly happy with the world we live in and don't wish for a way out. And gaming provides that. I think that's a main reason why a lot of people play games. Especially more open world games, or games like Minecraft, where you can just hop in, be someplace else, and get working on something in a fictitious environment where there are no real consequences. Your actions don't matter. That sort of thing. That on a simplistic level is what games like Minecraft or Sea of Thieves or No Man's Sky or whatever, that's what those games accomplish. That you can go out, you can do whatever. Yeah, with Sea of Thieves, there's PvP, and you can really screw over somebody's day. However, it's online, it's virtual, it doesn't matter. You're just gaining pixels at the end of the day. So, really, while you might get somebody really upset at you, it's not the end of the world, right? You're not gonna ruin somebody's entire livelihood by wrecking them at ship-to-ship combat in Sea of Thieves. If you manage to do that, then that just means that other person's like really insecure and really needs help. Rather than spending time playing games, should be spending their time getting the help they need. Because if you take a game, I mentioned this in a video a few months ago, but if you take a game so seriously that it ruins your entire life if you lose at it, then that's when you take a break and do something else. But a lot of these games, again, are no consequence, right? And escapism is one of the best aspects of gaming, where you can just hop into a fantasy world for a bit and do something completely different that you either wouldn't do or would never be able to do in the real world. Like half the games that are out now involve some form of actual crime. Sea of Thieves is a pirate game, Red Dead Redemption 2 or GTA. They're realistic games based on either the Wild West or the modern world, both of which you can steal from people, kidnap people, murder people, anything your heart desires. And while Red Dead 2 does provide an honor system, so your poor actions will impact how people look at you and will affect the ending of the game, you still have the choice of what you want to do. But then there are also games like BioShock, or Skyrim, or the Fallout games, or Undertale, or any of these other RPGs, where either your choices matter like in Undertale or Skyrim, Fallout, or it's there to tell you a story, like BioShock, and just give you a lesson in morality. We'll get more to the conversation on morality in a bit, or stories in a bit, but games like Skyrim, Fallout, and Undertale, especially Undertale, emphasize choices, where your choices will impact the world and will impact a lot of, well, while fictitious, it will still impact a lot of people. Like in Undertale, you have the choice to spare and kill whoever you want, and then reload whenever you feel like it. If you feel like you made a mistake, reset. But the game doesn't really punish you for resetting or reloading. However, some characters will remember your actions, and you'll get little moments of deja vu, meaning that your actions are never truly gone. That what you've done, yeah, that's permanent now. You will always have sins crawling on your back. But more so, you have choice on what you want to do. You can kill every single monster in the underground. You can kill certain specific characters just to see how other characters will respond or react when you complete the game. You could just kill one or two random monsters and end up with like just a neutral run. Or you could be the altruistic person and spare everybody and end up saving the entire monster race. You have those options. And then in games like Fallout or Skyrim, while reloading doesn't exactly have any moral consequences where characters don't remember if you reloaded a save file or not, but you have the option to kill whoever you choose if they're not related to a quest. However, what these games, all three of these games, kind of teach you or demonstrate is that in order to be able to do good, you have to have the option to do bad. That you cannot truly be a good person if you are forced to do so. That's what usually makes a good character, a true good character, entertaining or interesting, especially when they're more of a flawed character. But seeing that character rising above impulses to kill or do anything wrong. Not saying we want a perfect character, as in a person who's completely without fault, but it makes a character more likable in most cases if that person overcomes the desire to do wrong, where they have the option to, let's say, kill their unarmed adversary, but instead choose to be the bigger man or bigger person and stand up and say, no, I'm not going to kill you. You can learn from this. In certain situations, of course, like in like Star Wars, I think, spoilers for those who haven't seen the original trilogy, but Palpatine kind of deserved what he got. But it's not the impulse, the thought of killing that is the big deciding factor. It's what the character chooses to do with that. A man chooses, after all. Which leads us sort of into BioShock, where it, on the flip side, tells you that your choices don't matter. But you still get small elements of choice where you can decide what you want to do. You can decide the fates of little sisters. Do you steal their atom and kill them? Even since they're technically children, that makes it even more horrible. Or do you let them live? While the big daddies will still be angry at you for getting too close to their little sisters, you spared a child, but sacrifice additional power. It's the choices that you do have. It's someone choosing to do right that is more admirable than a person who just does right. When a person has the opportunity to do something wrong and then chooses instead not to do that, that is what makes a good character, good. A morally good character, good. But enough philosophy, my gosh, this went in so many different directions. But it's the RPGs like that get you to think. That put you in the shoes of somebody else and throw you into this world where your decisions will impact a lot of people. Or in some cases, they'll take your decisions away from you. But at the end of the day, a man chooses. So it's what you choose to do. It's what you do. Your actions speak louder than words. But then here we go into story. Where nowadays, media and storytelling as a whole have evolved drastically in the past 100 years. First we had books, invented way back when, and then theater brought books and other documents and stories, brought that to life where people could see the characters on stage and acting out and see what people are supposed to look like. Then we got that more books. Then we got movies, which were some based off of books, some based off of plays, and then a lot of them composed entirely from original concept and ideas. Where, just like theater, people could watch somebody tell a story, but instead of it being like a play where there's actors in front of you, it can be edited to be in a different universe, or it could be in this world but like a different timeline, like maybe like the Terminator movies. But now we have video games. Whereas the forms of media listed beforehand, books, theater, and movies, they're entertaining to watch and read, and they can tell you a lot, and they can provide excellent stories. However, there's one thing that viewers of these forms of media cannot do, and that is truly experience that. You cannot interact with a movie. You can only watch it. Everything that happens is scripted. You have no influence on it. And same with a book. You can turn the pages, you can go back pages, you can go back chapters and reread things. But what's in print is in print. I know it's basically a floor, yes, the floor is the floor type of quote, but what's in print is there forever. It cannot be changed unless we have someone like J.K. Rowling constantly rewriting things after the books have been out for like 10 years. But the books, movies, and plays have already been completed. You have no influence on them. But with a game, you have complete control over what happens. Okay, maybe not complete control over what happens because there are games that are scripted. But the way that storytelling has evolved is that now you, experience the game. You experience the story. You're in it. In games like BioShock, you're thrown into this fantastical undersea city of rapture. But it's horrifying. You get pieces of the story that you have to locate and find yourself. It's not always explicitly shoved in your face. You have to go find logs and journals to truly piece together what happened here. But everything that happens, you are the catalyst of it. You are the protagonist. Instead of reading or watching somebody else, you are that person. And where in RPGs, that's where your choices will drive the plot forward. It's not just waiting for you. It's not just waiting for you to flip a page and then the story continues. No. You are that catalyst that burns that story forward. You're that spark. And it's because of your actions that will determine what happens in the story. And where in sandbox games, just like in Fallout and Skyrim also sandbox games, or in GTA and Red Dead 2 also, you forge your own path. You forge your own adventure. Every experience is different. Where in Red Dead 2, you could be exploring outside of Strawberry and stumbled upon somebody who's gotten trapped in his own bear trap. You have a choice there in that person's small story. While it doesn't exactly connect to anything in the major plot, you have these side opportunities to go and help out, or not. You could always kill that person. You could, quote-unquote, put them out of their misery, even though they could have survived had you stepped in. Or you could just pass them by. Completely ignore that person's cries for help. Just keep on your path because you have more important things to do. That's the importance of choice in game, where it's changed storytelling. Whereas with books, if you have too much side material rather than the primary plot, your book's full of filler. Your book's lost its intention and purpose. Same with a movie. It gets boring to have a main plot established, but then once you're starting to get invested, psych! Now we're going to watch people farm for 3 hours. And never going to touch upon whatever interesting aspect we had. That'd be annoying, right? But games give you the opportunity to truly experience the world around you in that game, where you're not limited to just the main storyline, but you also now have time to go around and do other things. Even if it's a game like a platformer like Crash Bandicoot, there are secrets to find. There are items to collect. For a completionist, there's a lot to do. Even if you aren't always focused on getting to the end of the level, you're replaying levels and going different ways. You are forging your own path through a level. Or some games give you different routes to take, where you can still end up at the same destination eventually, but depending on the pathway you chose, you'll get a different experience. Games like Bendy and the Ink Machine, where in Chapter 3, you're given 2 options. You can either go down the demon route or the angel route. Whichever you choose, you'll still eventually get to the same place, but your experience of getting there will be completely different. Stories have changed, and game developers, the good ones at least, know that. And know that to reach an audience, they have to make sure that the player has some control, if that's the narrative of the game, and can truly forge their own experience rather than just have it force-fed to them. While some people would rather have a story told to them, that's fine. A lot of other people would rather experience it. Would go out there and see what there is to see. But enough rambling on. This has been my major thoughts and what makes gaming special to me. It's that element of choice. That element of freedom. To go outside of my normal world to experience stories that movies or books or other forms of media could not deliver. and to forge my own destiny in games. Where at the end of the day, your choice matters, even if it's not necessarily in-game. You choose what game you want to play. You have that control over the game world. So do with it what you want, and what you will. Use that newfound power responsibly. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and as always, Maxusthebeast is out.